A different time, a very different team, celebrated and beloved, their achievements unduplicated in the ensuing 2 decades of Knick basketball. Pat Riley was brought to New York because he had experienced what his Knick players had not. And for 3 years, he has coaxed as much as coached, motivated as much as maneuvered, convincing his team to share his vision. He was in their place once, unproven, the players already with championship credentials, not the coach. But together, they achieved sustained greatness. Now, he is the standard against which others are measured, yet his own standards are higher still. He expects victory, even though the circumstances are so much different than they once were. Instead of showtime glitz, he relies now on crunch time grit. With artistry in short supply, he shows his players he believes in them when so many others do not. It appears the guy on the other side of the table holds the superior hand. Home court advantage, the best player, the favored team. But if the Knicks hold an ace, perhaps it is Riley himself. It is unlikely these Knicks will ever be as revered as their predecessors, but it is also unlikely anyone else could have brought them to this point.
This is the NBA on NBC. The 1994 NBA Finals. Tonight, Game 5 between the Houston Rockets and the New York Knicks.
It's down to a best 2 out of 3 now, and before midnight tonight, somebody will move to the verge of a championship. Bob Costas back at Madison Square Garden, resuming our coverage. You know, you have to admire the heart and determination displayed by these teams as they play to a standoff through 4 games. But you also have to hope that before the series is over, somebody rises up and elevates these NBA Finals. Maybe tonight will be the night, as it was in Game 5 of the Knicks-Pacers series when Reggie Miller electrified the Garden. One obvious candidate would be the Rockets' Hakeem Olajuwon. Check his numbers in Game 4 as against the rest of his team. Meanwhile, his counterpart, Patrick Ewing, was having a flip side experience. You wonder if the Knicks can win again if Ewing's slump continues. You wonder if the Rockets will see the wisdom in putting the ball in Olajuwon's hands so that he can be the hero down the stretch. Time now for us to put the microphones in the hands of Marv Albert and Matt Gukas. Let's go courtside. Marv.
Thank you, Bob. And prior to the start of this series, much of the talk revolved around the matchup at center between Patrick Ewing and Hakeem Olajuwon. But Matt, as it turns out, to this point, the key has been the play of the guards. And the Knicks backcourt has certainly outplayed the Rocket backcourt.
Well, even though the center matchup commands a lot of attention, this series has been and will be greatly influenced by the guards. And so far, Derek Harper and John Starks have outplayed and outscored Kenny Smith and Vernon Maxwell by 17 points a game. And while Sam Cassell has been getting quality minutes and chipping in with 10 a game, his defense has been highly suspect. And Marv, the bottom line for the Rocket guards is they have to do a much better job on Derek Harper, and they have to start attacking the basket.
As for that marquee matchup at center, it has been a case of too many shots taken by Patrick Ewing the last 2 games. 17 of 57, just under 30% shooting. But in the case of Hakeem Olajuwon, appears to be emerging, coming off that 14 for 20, 32-point performance on Wednesday night.
Well, the Knicks have to feel fortunate to be even in this series with Patrick Ewing scoring or missing 20 shots for the 2nd straight game. He needs to balance his outside game with more inside moves like this, but Patrick's defense, shot blocking, and rebounding are big reasons why the Knicks are feeling good about themselves. The Rockets, on the other hand, have to be a little frustrated at 2-2 because Hakeem Olajuwon started to show his MVP form in Game 4 with his patented dreamlike move. But for the Rockets to take a stranglehold lead in this series, Hakeem Olajuwon is going to have to get a lot more help from his teammates.
Well, this crowd, as you can hear, sounds ready. Coming up is Game 5 of the best of 7 between the New York Knicks and
The NBA on NBC is brought to you by Molson Ice from Canada, the land where ice was born. By Speed Stick Deodorant and Speed Stick Antiperspirant, the #1 for movers and shakers. And by the all-new Ford Mustang. It is what it was, and more.
On a hot and humid 92-degree day here in New York City, we welcome you back to Madison Square Garden. Set for the introduction of the starting lineups. Let's go to Mike Walshewski on the public address.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Madison Square Garden, the world's most famous arena. Tonight's Game 5 of the 1994 NBA Finals features the Houston Rockets and your New York Knicks. Here are tonight's starting lineups. First for Houston, at guard, at 6'4" from Florida, number 11, Vernon Maxwell. At guard, at 6'3" from North Carolina, number 30, Kenny Smith. At forward, at 6'10" from Alabama, number 25, Robert Horry. At forward, at 6'10" from Providence, number 33, Otis Thorpe. And at center, at 7 feet from the University of Houston, number 34, Hakeem Olajuwon. The trainer is Ray Melchior, assistant coaches Harold Dawson, Bill Berry, and Larry Smith, and the head coach, Rudy Tomjanovich. Virginia Union, number 34, co-captain Charles Oakley. And at center, at 7 feet from Georgetown, number 33, co-captain Patrick Ewing. The NBA Trainer of the Year is Mike Saunders, the assistant trainer Jim Walsh, assistant coaches Dick Carter and Tim Van Gundy, and the head coach of the Knicks, Pat Riley.
Well, it's been a stirring sports day in New York. Earlier, the Stanley Cup champion New York Rangers honored in a ticker-shaped parade in Lower Manhattan, and the Knicks receiving a rousing ovation for their final home game of the season as the series will shift to Houston.